The galaxy had long considered Earth a curiosity, an unremarkable blue world on the edge of a spiral arm, populated by a species once full of fire, but now silent. When humanity made first contact with the galactic Concorde 70 years prior, the encounter had been tense, but uneventful. Faced with the reality of a galaxy teeming with older, more advanced civilizations, Earth's leaders made a surprising choice. They signed the Treaty of Silence. The treaty stipulated that Earth would abstain from expanding beyond its system, developing military starships or engaging in galactic politics. In return, the Concorde promised non-interference. Earth would be left alone, observed but untouched, categorized as a passive development zone. To the galactic powers, it was a diplomatic victory, a potential threat neutralized without a single shot fired. But Earth had lied. Beneath the surface, humanity had been building, not recklessly, not loudly, but with purpose. The treaty had bought them time, decades of unbothered innovation. While the galaxy turned its attention to interspecies squabbles and trade empires, Earth focused inward. Breakthroughs in AI, quantum propulsion, stealth shielding, and orbital engineering, all developed in absolute secrecy. In the vast, empty stretch of the Orion frontier, where galactic patrols were infrequent and oversight minimal, a hidden human colony, Nova Eos, had thrived for years. It was a testbed, an experiment in planetary adaptation and long-range logistics. It also proved Earth had violated the treaty on multiple fronts. The secret came out by accident. A Zarnati slaver vessel, chasing pirate signals, stumbled upon Nova Eos. Expecting easy prey, they descended, only to be met with an array of automated defense satellites and a planetary railgun platform. The slaver ship was destroyed, but not before transmitting coordinates and sensor readings back to the nearest Concorde relay. Panic rippled through the political halls of the galactic Concorde. Earth was not just colonizing, it was doing so with technology well beyond what the treaty should have allowed. Worse, they had built it all without detection. The image of humans as quaint, backward primitives was shattered in a single data burst. Earth was summoned to the Concorde Spire on Vestara, Prime. In an emergency session of the Galactic High Council, representatives demanded answers. Earth's ambassador, a composed woman named Dr. Mira Kale, stood silently as accusations flew. She offered no apologies. "Our silence was agreement," she said. "Not surrender. We honored your treaty, but we never promised to remain weak." Back on Earth, the mood was tense but controlled. In the icy void under Antarctica, an underground complex designated Project Horizon activated a deep space sensor array capable of tracking movement across hundreds of light years. From lunar stations to asteroid outposts, Earth's hidden assets went on high alert. To the public across the galaxy, the discovery was unsettling. What else had Earth hidden? What else had they built? One chilling thought echoed in conquered intelligence circles. If humans had a colony, did they also have ships to protect it? The answer wouldn't stay hidden for long. The galactic Concorde was not known for reacting quickly to threats. The Council, made up of diplomats and advisors from hundreds of different species, preferred negotiation and careful consideration over rash decisions. But the sudden realization that Earth had broken the Treaty of Silence changed everything. The galaxy's peaceful image of humanity as an innocent, passive species was a lie. The discovery of Nova Eos was the first spark, and it ignited a firestorm of political maneuvering that no one had expected. The galactic Concorde, which once had viewed Earth as a quaint and largely irrelevant world, now saw humanity as an unpredictable, potentially dangerous player in the galactic game. The news that Earth had secretly developed interstellar technologies and begun to expand beyond its homeworld was not taken lightly. There were immediate calls for Earth to be brought to the table to explain itself, but many in the Concorde saw it as an opportunity to finally assert dominance over a species that had been allowed to hide for too long. Diplomatic channels were opened, and Earth was summoned to answer for its actions. The Earth delegation, led by Dr. Mira Kale, was given little time to prepare. The Concorde's demands were clear. Earth had broken the Treaty of Silence, and as a result it must immediately cease all expansion and military development or face the consequences. Dr. Kale's response was as calculated as ever. In a private meeting with her advisors, she outlined Earth's position. We will not bow to their demands. We will negotiate, but we will not give up what is ours. As tensions escalated, a wave of condemnation spread across the galaxy. Hushed conversations in alien bars, debates in the crowded halls of galactic politics, and news broadcasts all focused on the Earth question. Some species, like the Trisari and Draxians, who had long considered humanity a minor nuisance, were quick to call for military action. The human race, they argued, had been given its chance at peace and had squandered it. Others, like the Alethians and the Vaxari, argued that Earth had the right to defend itself and grow. If they wanted peace, they would have to earn it. The decision was made swiftly. The Concord, with support from a coalition of species that had long been wary of Earth's secretive nature, began to mobilize a massive fleet. The strategy was clear. Earth's colonies and technological advancements must be neutralized before they could become a serious threat. The fleet would enter the Sol system, destroy any hidden military assets, and force Earth into submission. What the Concord didn't anticipate, however, was Earth's response. Instead of sending a fleet of warships or armies to negotiate, Earth's leadership chose a different approach. They remained silent. For weeks, Earth's diplomats remained in the shadows, refusing to make any public statements. But behind closed doors, Earth's engineers and military strategists were preparing for an unprecedented response. The government knew that they couldn't afford to let the Concord dictate their future, and so they prepared for the unimaginable, a first strike. In the darkened chambers of the Earth High Command, Admiral Elias Holt reviewed the plans for Project Revenant, an initiative that had been in development for decades. A new kind of warship designed not for diplomacy or deterrence, but for pure, unstoppable combat. The Concord's fleet, now en route to Earth, was blissfully unaware of what was coming. What they saw as a routine military exercise would soon prove to be their greatest mistake. The coalition fleet, a massive armada of warships, cruisers, and support vessels, entered the Sol system with the confidence of a conqueror. They had already calculated the outcome. Earth, the backwater world that had dared to break the Treaty of Silence, would be crushed swiftly. There was no question. The sheer might of the conquered fleet would overwhelm anything humanity had managed to develop in secret. For decades, Earth had been content to remain in the shadows, avoiding galactic politics and keeping its technological advancements buried deep within the vaults of classified projects. But what the coalition didn't know was that Earth had not just built a fleet, it had built a superweapon, one unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the Concord fleet approached Earth, its sensors began to pick up something strange. A disturbance in the vast emptiness of space, a flicker on the edge of their detection range, a whisper of an anomaly, something that seemed to shift in and out of existence. But it wasn't a comet, or a rogue asteroid, or any of the familiar objects they had encountered in the system. It was something new. Suddenly, Earth's solar system grew still. The coalition fleet sensors went dark. Communications ceased. For a moment, the vast armada floated in an eerie silence, confused and disoriented. The fleet admiral, Heron Vex, issued an order to bring systems back online. But before any of his officers could respond, the stillness was shattered. From the shadow of Jupiter, a planet the Concord had long believed uninhabited, there emerged a shadow so large, it consumed the space around it. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a group of ships. It was a single vessel, the ESS Revenant. This was no ordinary warship. It was a behemoth, massive and ominous, and it seemed to be made of darkness itself. Its hull shimmered with a black iridescence, distorting light, and making it appear as though it had no physical substance. It moved silently, gracefully, without the customary thrusters or engines visible on its exterior. To the Concord fleet, it was as if the ship was alive, bending space and time around itself. The Revenant's appearance alone was enough to strike fear into the heart of the fleet. But what followed would send them into complete disarray. Without warning, the ESS Revenant fired, not with traditional weaponry, but with an energy pulse so focused and precise it appeared almost surgical. A cruiser in the front of the fleet erupted in a blinding flash, its shields barely able to hold against the intensity of the strike. Another pulse hit a second cruiser, tearing through its hull and disintegrating the ship in a matter of seconds. The conquered fleet, now in full panic, retaliated, but their weapons were ineffective. Each missile and energy bolt fired at the Revenant simply vanished into the void, as if absorbed by the ship's hull. The weapons of the Concorde had no effect. The Revenant, an unknown creation from Earth, was unstoppable. For every ship that fired upon it, the Revenant struck back with merciless precision, targeting weak points, disabling communications, and disabling weapons. The battle unfolded like a nightmare for the Coalition, a nightmare where they were outclassed, outmatched, and powerless. As the last remnants of the Concorde fleet tried to regroup, Earth's response came over an open channel, a simple message, but one that left no room for doubt. Leave, or be buried here. It was not an ultimatum, it was a warning. And it was clear. Earth had never been as defenseless as the galaxy had believed. The Revenant lingered in the dark of space, the last word still echoing in the ears of the defeated fleet. Earth was no longer the passive species they had thought. The galaxy was about to learn just how powerful humanity could truly be. The remnants of the Coalition fleet drifted in the void of the Sol system, broken and scattered. Only a handful of ships remained operational, their commanders too terrified to press on. The galactic powers had underestimated humanity for too long, believing Earth to be nothing more than a fragile, peaceful world that had no place in the great cosmic order. Now, with their fleets crippled and their bravado shattered, they realized the terrible truth. Earth had been playing a game far beyond their understanding, and humanity had never been the weak, passive species they had assumed. Admiral Heron, Vex, who had once confidently led the charge into the Sol system, now stood in the ruins of his command ship, looking out into the darkness. His mind raced. The Revenant's strikes had been precise, devastating. Earth's technology was far beyond what anyone had predicted, and worse still, humanity's secretive isolation meant there was far more they had not seen. The conquered had assumed Earth would bow to their authority, but instead it was they who had been humiliated. In the aftermath of the battle, as the surviving ships limped away from the wreckage of their fleet, Earth's message went out across the galaxy. The transmission directed at the Galactic Concorde was clear and unambiguous. Peace was our gift. You refused it. There was no grand speech, no boastful proclamation, just the words, quiet but filled with unyielding resolve. The battle was over, and humanity had won. Earth's message, however, wasn't about conquest. It was about reclaiming their place in the galaxy. The Treaty of Silence had been shattered, and now Earth would no longer remain on the fringes, no longer hidden away. They would no longer be dismissed as inconsequential. While the galaxy reeled from the shock of the Revenant's sudden emergence, Earth's government began to take action. The survivors of the Coalition fleet were left to lick their wounds, but Earth's diplomats had already begun working behind the scenes. The Concorde's leaders knew that peace with Earth was no longer a matter of simple negotiation. It was a matter of survival. The cost of underestimating humanity had been too high. It was clear that Earth now held the cards. Within hours, a formal declaration was sent out. The Treaty of Silence was null and void. Earth was no longer bound by its terms. They had no intention of becoming just another cog in the galactic machine. Instead, humanity would be a force to be reckoned with, setting its own course in the galaxy. They would decide their own future, not dictated by alien powers, and humanity did not stop there. Project Horizon, once a covert operation, was now open for all to see. Earth's colonies, long hidden from galactic eyes, began broadcasting their existence. Earth was no longer the quiet, passive world they had been before. Humanity was entering a new era, a bold, confident, and uncompromising era. Galactic species, that had once looked down on humanity now realized that they had been wrong. Earth's weakness was a carefully constructed illusion, a mask that had kept the galaxy from knowing what humanity was truly capable of. No longer would humans cower or submit to the whims of the powerful. The warships, the AI weapons, the covert research, they were all just the beginning. Earth had claimed its place on the galactic stage, and the universe would have to reckon with the consequences. Humanity's rise was inevitable. The galaxy would soon learn that underestimating Earth's resolve was the most catastrophic mistake they could have made. Peace was no longer a gift, they would take it on their terms.